This video essay contains heavy drug-related themes, religious themes, and mild spoilers for the show Euphoria. Viewer discretion is advised. Euphoria is a show that is a lot. Although it's rated TV MA, mostly for ages 17 and up, some famous celebrities and many a forum has warned people that this show is not for the faint of heart or for people who have been exposed to drug abuse. On paper it seems like your typical Hollywood teen high school drama, but truth be told, it is much more real than that. And although some scenes are over-dramatized, it takes its themes of drug usage, sexual abuse, discrimination, body shaming, mental health, and so on very seriously. And no character is shown as truly good. Majority of the cast could be considered anti-protagonists, and all of them have or will suffer in one way or another throughout the events of the series. In this essay, I won't be covering all of those elements, but I will be covering the most prominent theme which follows Rue everywhere she goes: drug abuse and addiction. There are many parts of many episodes of this series that highlight the key problems that drug addicts are faced with and the problems they cause. But I believe that the special episode titled Trouble Don't Last Always is the episode that best covers the topic. It is not an action-packed episode, there is no teen drama to be had, and there's barely any music. It is simply a conversation between Rue, a teenage drug abuser who picked up her addiction while her father slowly died in a hospital bed, and Ali, her closest confidant, a former drug abuser and her sponsor, who's doing everything he can to reconnect with his family and put the terrible events of his past behind him. And the conversation they have is something I believe the world should hear. After a fantasy sequence where Rue and Jules have the ideal life together is interrupted by Rue snorting some opioids, she walks out of the bathroom into reality, where she is meeting up with Ali to talk about her life. If you have been exposed to someone with a drug addiction or have dealt with it in the past, which full disclosure I have, her opening dialogue is one that may sound familiar to you.
I feel like I've found this amazing balance where I'm happy and healthy and I'm not looking to anybody else for that happiness, you know?
She reminisces over what happened with her relationship with Jules and talks about how she's found a new balance in life and how it can get dark and depressing, but she's independent, able, and is dealing with her own shit and focusing on herself, leaving out the most important part of actually doing those things properly, the part that Ali doesn't fail to bring up immediately.
The point is your sobriety.
Yeah, of course, yeah. And my general overall well-being.
Which starts with your sobriety.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Ali trips her up on her words, pointing out the problem with what she's saying. They go back and forth with Rue dodging the idea of sobriety, claiming that she's on a good path now, and Ali stressing that sobriety is the only way she'll truly be able to start growing as a person. She mentions that heaps of people drink and do drugs, but their lives can still be good, and sometimes life is just bad. That's just how things are. She's only smoking a bit of weed and taking some pills, that's all. She's still good now.
My point is, it's not gonna last.
Yeah, well, neither do my moods when I'm sober.
Okay, well, I'm not saying you're a paragon of mental health. You've got your issues, and you're gonna be struggling with those issues for the rest of your life. That's a fact. The problem is that you look at sobriety as a weakness in the face of those issues, and what I'm saying is, sobriety is your greatest weapon.
Rue essentially rolls her eyes at him, and after a bit of banter between the two of them, she starts to talk honestly to him about her take about being sober.
No, you can say that sobriety is my greatest weapon, but to tell you the truth, drugs are probably the only reason I haven't killed myself.
This is where the conversation becomes real, and unfortunately, to many people on this earth, it becomes truly relatable. The world can be a really dark and dangerous place, and sometimes, hell, most times, to many of us, drugs and alcohol are how we get out of it for just a little bit.
Now we're talking. Now you're being real, now you're being honest. Because this whole bullshit about being a functioning drug addict, about finding balance, That ain't true, that's a lie.
It's not a lie.
It's a lie whether you know it or not, but more importantly, I don't give a fuck to hear it.
After Rue scoffs at Ali, he pulls her up and reminds her that he has lived a much longer life than she has, that he has been through the same shit and has come up with that same conclusion before. But the truth is, at her age, she has barely lived yet. She doesn't have the tools to deal with her problems effectively, so instead she tries to bullshit everyone into thinking she's hard and has been through it all and doesn't care about anything anymore. But she has no idea what life has to offer, as many people my age, including myself, also can't say for sure, but continuously try to prove otherwise. But Ali knows that that kind of short-sightedness and dismissive attitude just gets in the way of real, honest discussions that need to happen. So she asks her to truly be honest from here on, to own her shit, and she agrees. Afterwards, they talk about the specifics about how she relapsed, and how she had pills for an emergency situation, and that she never really planned to stay sober. He asks her if she wants to get clean, and she says no.
I fucked up.
Well, you don't want to get clean? Yeah, of course it's fucked up.
I'm a piece of shit, huh?
Yeah, piece of shit. All right, but here's the silver lining. You're not a drug addict because you're a piece of shit. You're a piece of shit because you're a drug addict. You follow?
Rue doesn't follow, and Ali explains that she wasn't born an evil person. She just had a couple wires crossed, and once she tried drugs for the first time, it set something off in her mind that was beyond her control.
And it isn't a question of willpower. It's not about how strong you are. You've been fighting a losing game since the first day you got high.
This is a crucial talking point when it comes to addiction. It's not just that drugs feel good. It's the fact that your brain easily convinces you that it's the only feeling worth feeling. Before you get proper help, when you really get into drugs, it is more than easy to forget what it felt like before drugs and what it would feel like afterwards. The actions you can take towards getting your next hit become easier and more justifiable as the addiction progresses. It doesn't matter who gets in the way. Once you're high, all of those other feelings just fade away until they come back, and you need to get away from them yet again, at any cost. That is the sick cycle of addiction, the disease.
Hey, but the hardest part of having the disease of addiction, aside from having the disease, is that no one in the world sees it as a disease. They see you as selfish. They see you as weak. They see you as cruel. They see you as destructive. They think, why should I give a fuck about her if she doesn't give a fuck about herself or anybody else? Why does this girl deserve my time, my patience, my sympathy, right? If she wants to kill herself, let her. All reasonable questions and responses. But luckily, you aren't the only person on planet Earth who has this disease. There happens to be people like me who understand that you aren't all that bad.
This scene highlights a big problem with addicts and the process of becoming clean. After you've hurt your family and friends over and over to get drugs, they have all the right in the world to write you off and to say that you're not worth it. And because they have that right, it more often than not rams the guilt and shame further into the addict, solidifying their choices and making them believe they're a lost cause. It's also why we are so fortunate to have programs, NA and AA meetings in this world, because when sober people can't understand you, often other drug users can, because they know what drugs truly do to a person's morals and reasoning capabilities, and most importantly, they know how you feel. So, if you are suffering from a drug addiction and are trying to get clean, I sincerely hope you are able to find the help you need, or to find the strength to go through rehab or enter a program where you can meet others trying to do the same. And as Ali knows, and many others know, you are not alone. You are worth it no matter what you have done, and you can always come back from this. After Rue and Ali talk a bit about his family who he hasn't seen for a very long time thanks to his past addiction, and his relapse after 7 years of being clean, Rue starts to talk about Narcotics Anonymous.
Step one, I'm cool with. Like, you know, I can agree. You know, I'm powerless over drugs and my life is unmanageable. That's not like fucking inconceivable.
Right.
But it's step two. came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. That one I have some trouble with.
Then the discussion takes a turn towards religion and corporations manipulating African American people, and things get a little heated. At this point, the topic of the conversation steers a little bit off addiction, which is what I want to talk about in this video. And since the episode is an hour long and I'm trying to make sure this video doesn't end up being just as long as that, I'm going to leave this element out, but just know that what they talk about is still very important and relevant. And if you haven't seen the episode yet, what the fuck are you doing here? Go watch the episode! Anyways, later on he ends up circling back to addiction and the importance of faith when it comes to getting clean.
It's a true revolution, not a fast one, not a quick one, not a fashionable one, but a real fucking revolution is at its core spiritual. It is a complete decimation of one's priorities, beliefs, and way of living. You have to create a new God, or gods, or whatever you can, but it is imperative that you believe in something greater than yourself, all right? And it can't be the ocean or your favorite song, and it can't be the movement or the people or the words. You've got to believe in the poetry.
This part of the episode is the part I think I struggle with the most because I am not religious, but I sincerely agree with him either way. It doesn't need to be a matter of believing in a god, but to truly uproot addiction and overcome its pull, you have to have faith. You have to be able to believe that you will make it through, to know that every step you take towards sobriety and the continuous steps of maintaining that are worth it for greater reasons than you can comprehend. Because the journey isn't easy, and relapsing will be a strong possibility if you aren't fully committed to the idea, the belief, that you can not only be clean, but be happy when you are. Believe in your future, believe in a god, or believe in an idea that is stronger than yourself, something that can be your anchor through your journey, that tells you it's worth it even if you can't see why. That's what faith is. Unfortunately, I can't play much of the next scene without getting a copyright strike because of the music, but Ali calls his family and is able to speak with his family. It's touching, it's heartbreaking, and it made me cry like a baby. After everything he's been through and worked towards, he finally got to have something really special. Small to most people, inconvenient even, but to him, it was everything. One of the best Christmas presents he could have asked for. This episode is so special. Further along the episode, after the two of them talk about what happened to Rue's relationship with Jules, Rue talks about what she's done because of her addiction, and how she treated her family.
I picked up a piece of glass, and I pointed at my mom, and I threatened to kill her. That is some unforgivable shit. Maybe I deserve to get my ass left at the train station at 1 a.m., you know?
Drugs change who you are as a person.
Every time I attacked my mom, I wasn't high.
Drugs change who you are as a person.
Still unforgivable.
No, it's not.
Come on.
If I actually believed that what you did was unforgivable, I wouldn't be sitting here, because what I've done in my life is way more unforgivable.
At this point, he reminds Rue that again, he has gone through a lot of shit in his life, and has done some really terrible things. But here's the kicker.
Maybe if I was some random-ass classmate of yours with no life experience and I heard that you picked up a piece of glass and threatened your mama, I'd be like, ooh, that's unforgivable. But the more you believe that, the sicker it makes you, because every time you do something unforgivable, you think, why change? I'm just a piece of shit. I better keep going. What's the difference now? Without realizing that forgiveness is the key to change. We're too busy running around judging everybody's intentions and motivations as if we have some insight into the human soul. You know, you did this, so that must mean you're that. Just give me a break.
There is something that I firmly believe that ties to what Ali is saying. People are capable of doing really fucked up shit, but to me, at the end of the day, what matters most is that you try. There are a million paths you can take every day, and we often take a few steps on a dozen or so each day that all lead to different places for better or for worse. And sometimes we think we're on a good one, but end up doing something that hurts someone anyways. But one path that will always be a good one, no matter what, is the one where you try to do better. Even if you don't get to the end of that path during your life, at least you took some steps towards it. To me, that's enough. There's some real great dialogue beyond this point that really hammers home the points that the writer Sam Levinson tried to get across about addiction and its tight grip, about making bad mistakes and learning to forgive yourself and others who do the same, about how the people in our world need to stop pinning themselves and others into corners and to make room for redemption. But as I wrote more of the script, I found myself just wanting to put the rest of the episode in, as it says what's important about forgiveness and these other elements so clearly that it doesn't need me to reiterate it. So from this point, I'll say it again, watch this episode. This is Euphoria's most important episode, not just to the story's narrative, but to a lot of us in the real world as well. When you get lost in life, watch this episode again. It's written beautifully, and it highlights some of the major issues we face today and what we need to do to overcome them. To leave off this essay/ramble, I don't really know what this is at this point, I'd like to give the floor to Miss Marsha, a beautiful waitress who has been clean from drugs for 17 years.
What do you have to say to somebody who doesn't have a whole lot of hope?
When I was a little girl growing up, my grandma used to always have this saying, and I never understood what it meant until I was ready to get clean. And her words were, "Baby, trouble don't last always." And it doesn't. If you want to make a change, that's up to you.